Nice. Make sure the bench doesn't roll away from you. So it's got wheels on the bottom. So give me a few more of those. Let's set up.
Sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
And I actually have to jump off early too, but I figured some is better than none.
Perfect.
Okay, 90,
Mhm.
90.
Yep, just warming up and down. And so now you are going to warm up the upper body. So now relax your legs. Just a regular reach. Full breath out as you're reaching up toward the ceiling, being pulled by your forearms. So just breathe in that position. So each exhale, you're getting pulled by your fingertips. Perfect. Now you're going to do a tilt and a reach, but a single leg tilt. So what you'll do with your hips, upper body relaxed, roll up just a tiny bit. So think tailbone off the ground, low back, it stays pretty much on the ground, at least the middle part. And then you're going to relax one knee to your chest without letting anything move. So bring one knee to your chest, your hips don't drop, they just stay there, and then breathe. After one breath, you're going to reach the opposite arm up towards the ceiling and hold. If your right knee is to your chest, your left arm is reaching. It's a lot to think about, and you just hold for about 3 breaths before you start all over and switch to the other side. Or maybe 1 breath is enough. So kind of work with what you have, but each time start all over, roll up a little bit with both legs, don't let anything move, relax one knee to your chest. Perfect, Karen. So it's if nothing changed as you take one leg off your leg, or the ledge. And take a break. And now you're going to go into all fours and you're going to do bird dog iso hold. So all fours position, push away from the ground, and then opposite arm, opposite leg. But notice my toes in the back are like an inch off the ground, barely, so I'm not coming up. And then my other arm, again, about an inch off the ground, and from that position, you're gonna breathe in through the nose, full breath out as you're pushing through the supporting arm without letting your chest rotate. And here, you're holding for 3 to 5 breaths, or maybe one's enough. So set up position, and then nothing moves. Opposite arm, opposite leg. Reach a little more, Vic. Nice. I think each exhale, you're getting pushed away from the ground, using your arm without letting your chest rotate. And just switch back and forth every 3 to 5 breaths. A little more tuck, Christine. Nice. Keep pushing away, Vic. Awesome, Karen. And relax. So now you're gonna go into half kneeling. So that's one knee up, one knee down. And if your left knee is up, you're gonna reach with your right arm. But what you'll try to do is keep your sternum and head straight ahead. So each exhale, you're reaching a little more. So you'll notice I'm turning a little bit, but think of keeping this straight. So if your left knee is up, right arm is reaching, pull the back pocket down. And then the opposite arm can go elbow bent to 90 degrees like you're about to do a press. Nice. But keep your head and sternum straight ahead. So do not allow your chest to rotate. I think each exhale, the space between your chest and your hand are getting away from each other. Awesome. Rock back a little bit, Jess. Yes. And see if in this position you're focusing on your legs, you're pushing down into your front foot, and you're deflating the same way you do on the ground. And switch sides. Perfect. Rock back a little bit, Christine. A little more. Right there. And then point slightly down, Vic, with your left fingers. So each exhale, the space between your hand and your chest are getting away from each other by you exhaling. And relax. Now you're gonna go back to alternating with the 90-90 tilt, the single leg. So same thing. Upper body stays relaxed. Always start from the beginning. So roll up a little bit. If you want to, you can roll up a little higher, but that's usually enough for people. And then nothing moves. Relax one knee to your chest. And then the opposite arm reaches up. Reach. After each exhale, think of reaching your fingertips up towards the ceiling.
Hurricane.
I figured. And we're back to the beginning. The perfect timing. So each exhale, reach a little more. Switch back and forth every 3 to 5 breaths.
I was doing that forever until I realized I lost power. So
Oh, okay. Then take a small break. You can do extra. We're moving on to the next one here in a second, but all fours. Nice. And rest. So the next one, ISO bird dog. So go out a little further than last time. And then opposite arm, opposite leg, go out and breathe. So each exhale, you're getting pushed away from the ground, but you're not allowed to rotate. So you're gonna look more like a plank from the side than quadruped. Nice, Pam. Shift the way forward a little bit, and then push away without rotating, and slight tuck through your hips. Perfect. And the back toes are barely leaving the ground. Hand forward a little more, Vic, with your right arm. Yep, and then keep the elbows soft. Push through your shoulder blade. Nice. And switch every 3 to 5 breaths. As you're switching, nothing should move. Your tailbone stays tucked. You keep the reach. Picture everything deflating away from the ground. And relax. Back to half kneeling. So if your right leg is up, your left arm is reaching forward, and your chest is not going to rotate. So set up in your half kneeling, pull the back pocket down, hand is slightly lower than the shoulder, in through the nose. The space between your hand and your chest get further away as you exhale. So this is a good one if you have a band for a warm-up, like a training session, or a cable. It's like a half kneeling arm bar. Rock back a little bit, Vic. And switch sides. Yes, right there. That was better. The left arm is up, your right knee is forward. I think each exhale, your shoulder blade reaches forward without rotating your chest. And relax. Back to the 90-90. So alternate every 3 to 5 breaths. And if you want, you can roll up a little higher, or you can stay there. So before each time, you want to start all over, then roll back up. Just get a little closer to the box. Nice. And then go ahead and look at your knees, making sure that your knee's not completely out. So your knees should be in line, like if both knees were there and there's a ball between them. So whatever hamstring you're working, whatever leg's on the ledge, make sure that knee is straight up towards the ceiling, not driving out or caving in. Nice, and relax. You don't believe I used to have this be the first exercise people would do sometimes when they first came to me. Back to quadruped. This time you're gonna alternate. So you're just gonna breathe through your nose and you're gonna pretend that your rib cage can't drop just a centimeter. You're gonna drop a glass of water. So once you set up, nothing moves as you move back and forth from side to side without letting anything move. Keep the weight on your hands versus coming back. So you can set up with one exhale, and then you can just breathe through your nose as you're alternating. So reach a little more, Vic. Yep. And then Pam, now go back with your leg and then go forward with your arm. But that works too, actually. Nice. Don't let anything move. And relax. And now you're going to go into half kneeling and go half kneeling transitions. So you'll reach both arms up, forward, slight forward lean, and then from your hips up, pretend that you can't move at all. So you can only move from your legs. So you're going to transition from tall kneeling to half kneeling. Nice. And you're keeping everything still, your tailbone is tucked. Pam, get a little taller through your chest. And then Vic, get your chest down a little bit, just a hair. Yeah. Nice. And take a break. And now you're going to go into low bear alternating tap. So it's just like the all fours, set up the same way. And then your knees come off the ground just a centimeter. And then from there, nothing moves. So you really have to push into your toes to keep you still. And back and forth. And again, you can set up with one exhale and then go back and forth. Or you could just hold that position. Holding the knees off the ground is already hard. Of course, you are going to move from side to side, but think of not doing it. Really push down into your feet as well. That's going to help. Nice. And then back to the half kneeling transitions. Slight forward lean. And then transition from tall kneeling to half kneeling. And take a break. And now you're going to go back to low bear, but you're going to alternate from your legs and arms. So you're going to go in order. So from this position, pick up your left arm, then right arm, then left or right foot, then left foot. Nice. Nothing moves. Barely comes off the ground. Nice. And relax. One more half kneeling transitions. Just light forward lean. Pull the back pockets down. And go. And relax. So now you're going to grab the same thing you did 90-90 with and do a stride stance hold. So you will not step up, but front foot's going to be straight ahead, and then the back leg is also going to be right underneath your bottom hip versus being behind, which is what a lot of people will do setting up for a step up. So front foot straight ahead, back foot right on top of your back leg, and then you are going to allow a little bit of a knee bend on the bottom leg and hold. Try to distribute the weight evenly through both feet. So not just on the back leg and not just on the front leg. So see if you can distribute the weight through both. And both feet are straight ahead, and switch every 3 to 5 breaths. And Christine, get your back foot forward a little bit and go down on your heel. Make sure just the tuck is not a shove forward with your hip. So get closer, get your back leg closer to the box. And now try. So shift back into your heel a little more. Right there. Perfect. Yes, much better. Nice. Everyone looks good. Keep practicing that. You don't want to shove the hip forward when you tuck your back pocket. The back pocket just gets pulled down towards the ground. and rest. Now you're gonna go into a toe touch to squat. So grab your, whatever you're elevating your heel with. There we go. So make sure it's pretty high. So the breathing is you're going to exhale as you're touching your toes. Inhale, drive the knees forward, squat down into a baby squat. Think of relaxing into this position. And on the exhale, you want to start slow because you have to let it go all the way back to the toe touch. So as you exhale, I'm exhaling, I'm still exhaling, and then right over here, that's when I inhale. Nice, Pamela. And then go into a toe touch all the way, and then inhale, drop down into a squat. Perfect. That last squat, hang out at the bottom. See if you can just relax into that position. So sit back into your heels. You can even hug your knees. And can you make this more into like a rock back? Just relax into that position. Drop into the squat. Nice. And rest. Back to the stride stance. The front foot straight ahead. Back foot is right close to the box or your chair. Nice, Jess. So go ahead and set up with a slight tuck through your hips, making sure your hips don't shove forward. You're reaching forward. Nice. Chest forward a little bit, Vic. Everyone looks good. So go ahead and from this position, don't lose the back pocket tuck, straighten your bottom knee. And hold that. Awesome. A little more, just straighten it. And then switch after about 3 breaths. Nice. So once you've got your position, you got your tuck, straighten your bottom knee without losing anything. And relax. Back to your toe touch to squat. One more. So Exhale into your toe touch. Inhale, relax into your squat all the way down. Much better, Pamela. And then as you exhale, your hips stay underneath you as you squat up. Make sure your hips don't shoot back as you squat. So a little more tuck on the way up, Vic. Nice. Awesome, Christine. And relax. Nice job. You all are done. How'd that feel?
Felt good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Felt really good.
Yeah, you were able to sink back down into your squat a lot more on the second round.
Totally. That was cool.
Nice. Any questions?
Yeah, I had a question about the 90-90 and like, so I often will feel like when I try to have, the knees closer to the chest than the hips, I do find like that sometimes that'll kind of feel more pressure like in this part. I can feel it from the tuck, like at the bottom, but that just kind of made me a little curious about like your thoughts in 90-90 and like kind of distal versus like proximal hamstring and kind of what's going on there and what you're going after. Maybe it depends if, what on the person as well, but I was curious about that.
Yeah, good question. So what Jess is asking is the difference between feeling it in your distal hamstring, which is a hamstring by your knee, and then proximal hamstring, which is a hamstring, like more in the middle of the hamstring, closer to your butt area. And you do want to be able to move from feeling it in your distal hamstring to your proximal hamstring. When someone is doing a 90-90 like you are on the bench and dragging the heels down, it's going to be much easier to get the distal hamstring, which is not something that is ideal if you're really trying to clean up like the last bit of hip extension. Because when it comes to that motion, so if I'm taking my hip, so this is flexion, if I'm taking my hip from flexion to terminal hip extension, which is like the in range, it's proximal or distal hamstring and hamstring do a lot of the work from here, but then right towards the end, you've got to recruit the proximal hamstring and then the low fibers of the glute max. So if that's something, if this is a motion that you want to restore, which is very needed, you do want to make sure that people are feeling it here. In the beginning, I'm totally fine with all of this because it's much easier to coach, as you all can see, instead of using a wall to do the 90-90. So in the beginning, distal hamstring, totally fine. But if Jess was giving me that feedback of like, that's where I'm feeling it a lot, I would move you to the wall. And then the wall, you would have less drag down, and I would cue you, like, think of the back pocket tucking up. So you're almost like going against gravity, like practicing getting the motion from your hips versus the knee dragging down. And then a person who's been training with me, like that wouldn't be such a big overwhelming cue because they've already got the tuck, they've already been doing the exhaling, they've already been doing the reaching. So with you, I would put you against the wall. So now you don't have the heel dragging, even though you still get a little bit of a drag. And I would cue you thinking the back pocket tucking And that should get you more this of the proximal hamstring and glutes. And the other thing that you can do if you're starting to get more towards the end range of terminal hip extension is to cue a little heel push against the wall. And that will definitely get you glute and proximal hamstring.
Okay, cool. That was like my next question was your thoughts on like pushing against a wall. So you would start with the tuck to sort of get the more proximal hamstrings and just focus on that mechanic, but then like right to the end, you would cue that heel push into the wall.
Mm-hmm. Because if you cue it in the beginning, what will happen is they'll just push away from the wall and get quad.
Okay.
And that's why I don't like 90-90 on the wall for beginners, because that's their first instinct is push as instead of drag down and tuck, because there's nothing to drag down to. So it's hard for them to even think about it that way, which is why everybody does it on a bench. But yes, once I get people into bridging up, even if it's both legs, I will cue at the end or at the bridge as they're up, push a little bit into your heels, and that usually gets people a little more glutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and in like that same vein, when you have someone say in a more hook lying, or even if their heels are elevated, they're closer to terminal hip extension. Would that be sort of another way to get after that same end of like skewing more proximal? Like, okay, someone's now kind of got it down in the 90-90, they've really got the distal stuff going, then would the progression be, okay, hook line, let's kind of focus on more that end range, and depending on what you're noticing, you could go for that 90-90 wall or the hook line, or do you see it sort of in a chronological order of like 90-90 ledge, 90-90 wall, then hook line, or is it there more kind of subjectivity there?
I would say it would be a progression, because now you're really adding a good reference on the feet on the ground. But yeah, you're thinking, or you could also go and skip it and find another exercise like half kneeling, because half kneeling you're also working on that terminal in range. So you could get creative and just find another position. It doesn't have to be hook line, but you could go there. Like if you have someone who's very deconditioned and you still need another like other low level exercises and need some variety, you do single leg stride against the wall one time, and then you do hook line the other, just to give people something different. Or you could just skip hook line and progress them into half kneeling for even the stride stance that you all did with the knee bent and then straightening the knee. So that's still working on that as well. What else? And then really, like if you have someone who's pretty strong and takes cues well, another way to work on that is a single leg hold hip thruster. And like this won't work for everybody because everybody's gonna arch their back. But if you do have like some athletes that take cues well here, that's another way too. Very needy today.
Cool, thanks, that's helpful.
Any other questions? Oh, and this side lying too, which I hate and Dave loves, but you can get, he always puts it in programs. Side lying, you're against the wall. So the wall's behind me, and then I bring this leg back, tuck, and I'm pushing into the wall. So from the side, I'm basically in this position here. And then quadruped as well. So almost like every position you can drive that motion. So it goes back to like, what position is your person more successful in? Because if they hunch over in quadruped, then maybe you should pick half kneeling. Or if they don't take cues well, maybe you should do hook line, because now they're on the ground holding on to everything and all they have to do is focus on the hips. So it depends on who you're working with, but you can also get creative and try different positions. Yeah, really good question. And then actually that was one of the questions, not with hip extension, but Noelle on the Google Forms. How can you modify 90-90 into different positions in case someone can't get a 90-90? So that's something we'll go over on Sunday. Because that's a good one. Because sometimes like we have one lady who has vertigo and she can't get on the ground. So how do we do 90-90 with her? So we kind of make her do it on a box seated. So how to modify those activities. Cool. Anything else?
Yeah. Well, this was a really great session. Will this recording be available somewhere?
Yes. Yeah. I did. Yeah. Okay. I did record it.
But because I missed some with my, hurricane power.
Yep. It will be.
Cool.
Cool. Anything? Will you all be able to be there on Sunday?
Sunday. It's Sunday, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Lucy, I had another question. I'm happy to save for Sunday also. But so it sounds like just from, being in a lot of your sessions, you don't usually cue people to like feel particular muscles. So I was just kind of wondering your thoughts on that, because sort of I've found it helpful, for instance, to like bring my attention, because my squat has often felt really quad dominant. So out of the bottom, when I push into my heels, it's helpful for me personally to think about feeling my glutes there, because I just don't want my quads to just be dead and nothing else I'm feeling. And then for reaching, sometimes it's helpful if I think of, because I can be neck dominant, for me to think of what other muscles could I use. So I wonder your thoughts on kind of giving people, rather than don't relax your neck, giving them an alternative, and what sort of drives your thinking there.
With something like squats or something that you're using your whole entire body for, I don't like isolating certain muscles, just because if someone doesn't feel it, they're going to get like, oh, should I be feeling it in my quads or should I be feeling it in my glutes? Because I don't feel it in my glutes. And not a lot of people feel these isolated muscles when you're doing a motion that requires multiple joints moving and you're loading multiple tissues. And when I used to put emphasis on that, people would get attached, well, I don't feel it there, I must not be doing it right. And I find myself even explaining oh, it doesn't matter, because we're not isolating a muscle. If you were doing bicep curls, I would ask you, do you feel it in your biceps? Because we're isolating that muscle. But when we're doing a big compound move, like a deadlift or a squat, you may not feel these isolated moves. So as long as you're not feeling it in the wrong places. But I wouldn't be opposed to what you're saying of use your shoulder, but think more, instead of an actual muscle, think of the area. Think of using the area below your shoulder blade to reach up versus your neck. So I like where you're going with that when you're doing the little moves that way.
Okay, so it's the balance of, you don't want to give people this expectation where then they feel like they're failing if they can't meet it, but still trying to give people a general sense of what to latch onto can be helpful.
Yeah, and because then it will also perpetuate, or I don't want to perpetuate the idea that muscles turn on and off, or because you're not feeling it, they're not being turned on, because that will get carried out outside of the gym. And now you have to backtrack and backstep, because I see that a lot with PTs doing it to my clients. One guy said that he was hiking a lot and got injured, and he's a trainer too. And he's I just felt a lot of quads when I hiked. And I'm thinking well, that's not bad. And he was getting in his head that because he didn't feel his glutes while he was hiking, he must have been doing it wrong. And then now it's I'm feeling my glutes more when I hike. I must be doing it right, which is cool that he's feeling better. But I think that thought process is problematic, because when I hike, I feel so many different things in so many different parts of my body. My left calf is burning, but my right quad is burning more than my left. And I don't think anything of it. But I don't want other people to think because they're feeling certain things burn, that means those things are on.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a great conversation, because I just had a client yesterday I was working with who halfway through, she says, I'm a black and white person. I need to know what I should be feeling in this. And I'm cueing her and coaching her, and she's doing the move correctly. And I'm asking, what are you feeling? So where are you feeling this? Tell me where you're feeling that. And it almost gave her a little bit of insecurity or anxiety to have to actually identify where she was feeling I'm not feeling it the right way. Tell me where I'm supposed to feel it. And so that's actually not how I'm working with you. I really want to know, as long as you're doing it correctly, I want to know what you're feeling. And if you're feeling something that's, we could work on something else, I might cue you a different position. But in the exact same thing that you're talking about, Lucy, she was a runner, and she says, I must have been running the wrong way because I wasn't feeling this. And it's just sort of shifting that mind. So I really appreciate this conversation.
Yeah, and that's a good experience, because now you kind of modify a little bit. So now you know with her, you don't ask her, how does that feel? Does that feel right? And you just like slowly backtrack without her even noticing, and without her noticing, you'll progress without getting in her head. And you find other ways to find success with that, which is not feeling it in the wrong places. Now, very, very similar to people who are overweight, where you'd start asking them, do you feel it here? No, I don't feel it. And you just start learning how to not ask them those types of questions.
Yeah, and I wasn't even asking, are you feeling it here or feeling it there at all? She was wanting me to
Oh,
do that. Yeah, she was wanting me to say, are you feeling it in the back of your, and that's not what I was doing. And she was needing that. And so that was interesting to just sort of watch her relationship with not being told where she needed to feel it, you know?
gotcha. Well, there you could actually even use the same thing that I just used for Jess of like, well, when we're doing so many moves and you're using multiple muscles and multiple joints, it's really hard to pinpoint one thing. So you're not going to feel one thing. So that could be it too, that you could just kind of start changing that mindset.
Yeah, I found that a lot with actually, I mean, myself, because I'm detail oriented. So I've also always wanted to know what exactly should I be feeling so I can really focus on that. And I like holding that. And then, but I found like with people often, what should I be feeling? And I sort of struggle the balance between like wanting to honor that they answering the question, also myself still learning. And like, so for half kneeling, for example, I'm like, almost offering some options, maybe like you might feel a stretch in the front of your quad, you might feel some glutes on the down leg, and I'm sort of kind of going based on what I feel a little bit, but I don't want to project, but I also do want to honor, because for me myself sometimes I'm like I want some information about what I should be feeling, you know what I mean, because it will help me personally, like, because then I can, if I'm tucking, like I'll stop right at that point. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, I like that. And I like how you gave it with uncertainty. You might feel this, you might feel that. So when they don't feel it, be like, that's okay. When someone experiences, because very common, calves in 90-90, I used to like try to coach them out of it right away, and like try to get them to relax. Like, is that bad? And I usually I'm like, I'm okay with that. But I make like a note of like that's a way they compensate. So maybe I'll put them on the wall the next time. But my go-to response is, I'm okay with that. Like, well, I'm feeling it here a little bit. And I know because they've been there for a while, or maybe it's a new move, I usually go with, I'm okay with that. And then another one that I got from Zach, but he pulls it off way better, is when someone feels something else, because he gets specific, like, did you feel the low butt area? Yeah, but I also felt quads. I'm like, awesome. I won't even charge you extra for that. So I always like, as long as like making people laugh about it is always huge, and not having them take them so serious about these exercises, because people in pain do take it very serious. If you can almost make it more of an enjoyable, low key, I feel like it really helps people be comfortable with exercise. If you're not so worried of them doing it right, then they almost start to adapt that same behavior around it.
For yourself as like a coach, would you also like maybe use that as like an assessment? Like say someone was feeling their calves a lot in a 90-90 and then you come back to it, like are you kind of making those mental notes, or like they're only feeling the stretch in their quad on the half kneeling, but later maybe they're able to feel a little more glutes? Like are you kind of tracking that yourself a little bit, or not as much?
Oh yeah, I am. But that's because I'm crazy. But no, yeah, I always do that. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yep. Good questions. Cool. Well, I have to get ready for my next call, but I will see you all later.
Thanks, Lucy. This is great. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.